So with rock climbing, we've talked all about it. There's so much stuff that we project onto that experience. It feels significant and important because it's real rock. And yeah, it is, right? For us, it is important. Whereas when I go rock climbing in the gym, it's very playful. It's very fun. It's about the movement. And if I compare those two experiences, there's honestly oftentimes my experience climbing in a gym is purer than going rock climbing. There's a lot more ego oftentimes when I go rock climbing because I'm thinking about these specific achievements or goals or accomplishments, whereas going gym climbing, I'm just climbing because it feels good. And it's like, it fills me with joy. And so that's really interesting thing because I think I was a little bit critical towards just gym climbing. For me, it was very much like rock climbing. That's my thing. And then it was interesting to discover just how pure gym climbing could be because there's a lot less ego in it. In the end, it's really cool to see how climbing has, been able to connect. So many more people have been able to connect with climbing through gym climbing. And I don't think, obviously it's grown into its own branch of climbing in and of itself. And there are a lot of people that are not even going to ever become rock climbers. And I think that's okay, honestly. I think in the past I might not have thought that was okay, but I think it's neat to see how climbing has infiltrated the urban world, and it's become this, this whole other, it has become this, way of life for all of these urban people that probably will never become outdoors people. And I think, obviously for me, I really emphasize this part of being out in nature, but that's not for everybody. And there's still so much to get out climbing, just even at a climbing gym. So it's neat. And so I think I've learned a lot for sure over the years about that. And it's been cool to kind of rediscover that and see people on a regular basis, discover climbing for the first time, and they become hooked. And I've been climbing for quite a long time now, so it's really neat to see people when they're in that initial stage of just falling in love with it and they're discovering it. And whether or not these people become rock climbers or not, it's not that important.
It's about the joy that they're getting just from the experience of moving over a route. And I see that especially in the better gyms that are out there that have creative routes where you can feel fear.
And the connection that going back to that, the sensation in your body, feeling, in that way, climbing is like moving yoga or something like that, where it's all about your body awareness and being in control, or maybe it's more like a martial art or something where, it requires a lot of discipline, and that there's so much benefit from those things. So I think there's even taking the nature out of it, there's still so much. And so it's neat to see that evolution for sure.
All right, y'all, just a quick shout out for today's sponsor, which is PhysiVantage Nutrition. This is their new pomegranate berry flavored collagen. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I've been a paying customer for years, y'all, because this stuff works. All right, it helps me to train harder, recover faster, and perform at my best. It's kept my fingers injury free as I've been training hard. And don't just take my word for it. Check out their pro team. From Alex Magos to Natalia Grossman and Jonathan Segrist and Daniel Woods, so many pros are using PhysiVantage on the reg to level up. I think you're going to love it. Hit that link below. Use code STRUGGLE at checkout for 15% off and give it a shot. Let's get back to the show. Look, we know you for your strengths, of which there are many, but we don't often focus on our weaknesses that much, and this is the Struggle Climbing Show. So from your perspective, what's your biggest climbing weakness?
I would say mantles. And I don't know, probably off-wits and stuff like that. Yeah, I'd say those two things.
Yeah, so one of my big weaknesses is being able to kind of like do a full crimp, lock it off, and then still have gas in the tank to keep climbing. And at least on the films that I've watched of you, you tend to, it looks like, kind of full crimp almost everything that you do. And I wonder if that's something that you've always been able to do, or is that something that you've trained up?
I think so. I think I always was good at it, but for a while I did kind of. I don't know. I think when I was bouldering a lot, my style changed to be more physical, more. I was doing more compression types of climbing, bigger slopey stuff, and it's really interesting to see how like my body has evolved too with that. Because when I was more into bouldering, I was bulkier, and then sport climbing, I think it naturally makes you just a little bit more sinewy, but also the types of holds that you use are usually more fingery rather than like big slopey holds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I just have that since I started at such a young age. You know, I always, that's one of my strengths for sure, is like my finger strength, without a doubt.
Yeah, I know. When I talked to Tommy, he said that he would have to work incredibly hard and train his butt off, and kind of that was a bit of his superpower. Whereas as you just seem to be able to grab on and bear down on things at a level that he just had never been able to do. And I similarly had a conversation with Alex Honnold, who said that he's still not climbed Necessary Evil. I think you did that when you were 15 years old. First 14C, hardest route in America. And as he described it, he was like, "Oh man, Chris climbed Necessary Evil. He was a kid. It was basically like terrible beta. He was just campusing the crux, and I still haven't done it." And yeah, I wonder, like, just as you've gotten older, you've gotten stronger, but I'm assuming you've also gotten far more efficient and skilled with your movement. And when you look back on like Necessary Evil and some of those routes that, like Alex was saying, he still hasn't done. Have you ever revisited some of those? And like, what's your take on some of those early cutting edge sends that, now may feel a lot?
I haven't been on Necessary Evil, but there's like one like rule of thumb that I've learned sometimes the hard way, and I can't think of exactly what route. But I know like in Waco, I went to Waco this last February for the first time in many years, like almost 15 years. But it's usually generally it's a bad idea to try to repeat routes you've done.
Yeah.
Usually it's like a recipe for feeling bad about yourself.